Oopsie. Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to our morning call. Set the market. Hope you guys can hear me okay. Got my microphone straight here. Yes, we are live, so we should be good. Very good. Thank you. I appreciate it. Good morning. I would say let's just get started. Let's kick it off here. So what I'd like to do today, just for a little bit, and then I'm happy to look at some individual tickers. It is Ticker Thursday. But I'd like to spend just a little bit here on finally NVIDIA, because we did have the numbers last night. Numbers are just fine. The stock's not going anywhere. So that's kind of where I'd like to see if we can make some sense of it and kind of bring some light to this for everybody. If you're here for the first time, thanks for joining us. This is our Set the Market morning call. We're going to spend the next 10 to 15 minutes or so going through some of the top things on our notepad. If you do have questions, particularly here today on Thursdays, we do something called Ticker Thursday. So if you would like to type in some tickers or something you'd like to look at, please do let us know. Before we get started, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you get updated in real time when we go live with analysis and charts and ideas and all sorts of stuff through the lens of education. And please give us a thumbs up like on all the videos that you watch, including this one here right now. So we had NVIDIA report earnings last night, and you can just see here, just this little window, this white window here, you can see essentially the stock is dead flat. That's not surprising as far as I'm concerned, because we didn't really see anything new necessarily out of the earnings call, my view. The stock initially, because it always does, reacted higher, 3%, and then it basically immediately dropped, and now it's done nothing pretty much for the whole evening, night trade. We'll see what happens today, but that's what makes today all the more important. What I do want to remind people of, though, is that if NVIDIA does make a move, it's likely going to affect the indices. Why? Have a look at this chart here, this thing on your screen. I'm going to pull it over to the right so you can see this a bit better. So what I did here is I pulled up the S&P 500. And if you look at the S&P 500, you can actually look at the holdings within it. And you can rank it by the largest to the smallest holdings. And one way of doing that, or what we see when we do that rather, is we see that the largest holding is, to no great surprise, NVIDIA, which is about 8% of the index. I want you to think about that, 8%. You know what's not 8% of the index? What about an entire sector like energy, which is like 3.5% of the index? So it's one stock that is almost 3 times something like the energy sector, which is completely insane. It's maybe justified, maybe, probably not, but let's say it is. But it's just what it causes is a very dangerous setup from a market cap concentration perspective, which is what I continue to iterate. It's not, we may or may not have a bubble valuation wise. I don't even want to go there because that's a difficult conversation to have, and it's a lot of times very subjective. But I think what we need to make sure of is understand that the market cap concentration causes distortions in portfolios in the S&P 500, or because it causes distortions in the S&P, it causes massive distortions in the way people allocate money, and that ultimately leads to major problems down the road. So that's what I'm trying to educate people on. Hopefully that helps. But again, the NVIDIA is 8% of the index, and so basically, let's just do a little bit of math or just kind of see what this looks like on the charts. When you just pull up a very simple, just an absolute price chart, this is really nothing fancy. But you can see that very much like the S&P, and there's obviously no reason why it should be any different given the concentration of the stock in the S&P. It has done absolutely nothing. It's done pretty much really nothing. It's just gone sideways for several months now. The question is, of course, which way does it break? And I hate to disappoint you. I don't have an answer. If you need an answer, as you guys know, YouTube and Twitter is full of 25-year-olds with no experience and no money who can tell you exactly what the stock is going to do. Me, I don't know it. I've done it for 26 years, and I can tell you, let's be open-minded. That's, I think, the better thing to do. What I would do, however, is kind of just keep it really simple here. So if we see, I think $200 on NVIDIA is a pretty simple number to watch, give or take it $10, right? On either end. But I think if we see a sustainable close above, the 200, 205, 210 area on a weekly basis, we can try to make an educated guess that maybe the next move is to the upside. On the other hand, if we break, with decent momentum below 170, which from these current levels right now is about, that seems like preposterous, but it's about 14% lower from here, then it's going to go lower, right? This sounds very simple and binary, but that's exactly what it is, right? So again, instead of having opinions and putting up posters of Jensen Huang on my wall, I'd rather just be objectively neutral and just see what the price action at this point. Because again, we are dealing with an incredibly potentially, and I say potentially dangerous setup, not because the stock's a bad stock. It's not. It's a good company. There's no doubt about that. But because of the market cap concentration, again, 8% of one stock in the S&P 500, not like in some little index, like this is the S&P, that can cause from a flow perspective major issues, and that's what we want to be very much mindful of. So these are levels I'm watching. Seems boring, seems juvenile, seems very basic, and yeah, but it is what it is. This is where we're at right now. So I would pay very close attention to this, because this is going to be basically dictating where the stock goes next. What I can tell you, if you've ever been in a corporate boardroom or something like that, what I can tell you is that typically when a major company like this reports earnings, and let's say you're a hedge fund or a pension fund or something like that, the decision isn't going to be made to sell the stock like that minute when they report earnings. So a lot of companies, a lot of investors are going to have their morning call this morning, and research will come in over the next day or two, and then we will see what these people decide on doing with the stock. I think that today's immediate action, depending on how violent it is, if it's a snooze fest like it has been so far overnight, then we'll just give it more time. But typically people take time to kind of make up their mind on this, on a major earnings report like this. So that's in, at least in our view, where we're at right now with this stock. And again, it's going to have major effects on the indices depending on which way it breaks. It might just go sideways for another few months. I don't know, right? I think that's the point. What I can tell you, and this is again where we remain very objective, I can tell you that the stock remains essentially bullish from a trending perspective. So when I say trend, this is your multi-quarter, sometimes multi-year trend. This is the green background color. So there's no reason to short the stock until at least we get momentum to change. And momentum has not yet changed to the downside. So it's a wait and see. I would, again, certainly, as opposed to shooting first and asking questions later, I would first see what the reaction is, analyze, and then make a move accordingly. So again, the trend remains intact, still bullish in the long term, multi-quarter, and we don't have momentum in any direction right now. So this is a wait and see for right now, but it can change quickly, right? So that's the other point about that. Let's talk something more, maybe more, well, I don't want to say more important, because NVIDIA is from an index perspective, very important. But the dollar index is important to watch. It hasn't really done anything, but we do want to watch the dollar very closely. It's getting a little bit of a bid. It's kind of dormant, but I am watching it. I'm just throwing it out there as something that I'm watching. Then what I would also mention here is Tesla. And I bring up Tesla because I seem to be getting an increasing amount of a whole bunch of random newsletters about focusing on Tesla. I don't know why people are focusing Tesla, right? There's literally nothing to do unless one has a longer term time horizon, and in which case one has to believe in fundamentals and stuff, which indeed might be good tailwinds, right? But I can tell you that there's just not a whole lot to do. I mean, first of all, let's just objectively look at this through just without emotions, and let's just be honest, right? So you're looking at a stock right now, Tesla, that is at the exact same level now that it was in November of 2021. Okay? There. So you're looking at a stock that's done nothing for 2022, 3, 4, 5. Let's call it 5.25 years. Okay, excuse me, 4.25 years, right? I don't know what people are looking for. You know, from a trend following investment perspective, there's nothing to do here yet. That indeed might change. So I just would be, you know, I understand why people are excited about the stock, but objectively it hasn't done anything from an investment perspective. It's been dead money for 4.5 years or whatever, 4.25 years, whatever the math is we just did. From a momentum perspective, it's very choppy. So there's really nothing to do there either. At some point there will be, I would imagine, I'm sure it will be, but it's not there right now. So again, I seem to be getting like multiple Tesla-focused newsletters all of us. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's newsletter writers coming up with, they're running out of ideas. So they go to the tickers that they think will cause people to click on something. That's, I think, the only reason. So I don't know what there is to do. I'll tell you when I think there's something to do. I don't see anything now. That can change. It will change at some point. Bullish or bearish, I don't know. I would be very careful with this name right now. It's in a choppy range. Even from a short-term perspective, stock's done nothing since September, right? Even if you don't take the multi-year view, which is a 4.5 year of nothing, I don't know. I don't understand why people are even focusing on it. Like that's where we're at right now. So anyway, I'm gonna get off my horse here, but let's look at some stocks. If you guys have any tickers you want to look at, now would be the time to look at them. I will start off with one, and I believe we mentioned it yesterday. In fact, I can check. Yeah, we did talk about it yesterday. But I do want to reiterate it, not because I'm giving you advice. Remember, I'm not giving you advice. But I do want to mention Freeport-McMoRan again. And I should also mention, if you haven't had a chance to join us in our session on the next AI move, I would really, really, really encourage you to join us. It's going to be tomorrow. And it's a brand new look at it. I've got a whole bunch of new stuff and updates and charts on it. I would encourage you to join us tomorrow, Friday the 27th at noon Eastern, where not only are we showcasing our new webinar platform, which is so much fun and looks so cool, but also I've got a whole bunch of new data and research and stuff. So if you guys haven't had a chance to join us in this, do so tomorrow at noon Eastern. So that's 9 a.m. Pacific time, February 27th. And it's among other things exactly about this great rotation away at the margin, right? The margin away from tech. And so when we look at Freeport-McMoRan, again, I mentioned this yesterday, but I'll reiterate it once again here, because it's a stock that's at the center of a lot of these tailwinds that we continue to talk about. And again, here's the bullish trend. This is the latest bullish trend. You can see this trend started somewhere in the autumn of last year, around 42. Stocks now trading somewhere in the high 60s. And even from a momentum perspective, which is where we can see that here, you can see we received a momentum buy signal that remains valid here. That basically started also a little bit later than the trend in November of last year. So I think there's a lot going on here in terms of bullish tailwinds. What I would also reiterate in a stock like this is a theme. It's not a stock, right? It goes beyond just a theme. But if you look at a stock like this on a multi-year monthly view, you can see that here in February we're seeing the first monthly breakout. Like these are long-term charts, right? But you can see we're actually having a monthly breakout here. That gets back to basically a high that the stock's not been able to overcome for what is that? At 19 years. It's kind of a long time, 19 years. So yeah. Then Carrie wants to look at some of these mining stocks. Yeah, we've been watching them pretty closely. You know, they're all going to be correlated. So to me, what I would do here on something like the miners, like Newmont Mining or any of these other ones, some of them look better than others. It's a momentum game, right? So this is where you look at your momentum, so the near-term momentum, and you can see the latest signal remains valid, which is the one from 24th of November. So momentum in these mining stocks remains there, and the trend also remains there. So these are trend following signals, right? This is the multi-quarter, multi-year view. You can see the trend remains undeterred. Newmont Mining went into a bullish trend, again, the multi-quarter, multi-year in June of last year, and that trend remains very much intact. These are just swing trading, trend following signals along the way. And then, of course, again, momentum in the short term. So I don't think anything has changed in terms of those names and the miners and all that stuff. But I did want to point it out, what it looks like from a trending and from a momentum perspective. It's not that dissimilar from what we just talked about in Freeport McMoran, FCX, right? I think that's it's the same theme, I guess, is my point. Pamela, let's look at EQNR. No idea what that is, so let's have a look. EQNR. Equinor. Okay. Equinor. EQ. Maybe I'm typing the wrong name. EQNR. Oh. Is it this one here? Okay. Well, I can tell you, just looking at this, it's pretty clear. This is going to be bullish momentum. I don't know if we have this name in the database, EQNR. Now we do. Okay. All right. So EQNR from a momentum perspective remains bullish. So the time isn't to buy it now. The time was when we got the buy signal from a momentum perspective, which was December 31st. So or thereabouts, and the stock so far is up about 24%. From a trending perspective, let's see where it is from a multi-quarter view. This is the main tail or headwinds. Let's see where we are here. Here we're still neutral, right? So this is important, right? So this is now the distinguish from the difference between a trend and momentum. You can have a great momentum trade, which is just a trade, right? But there's no trend yet. So from an investment perspective, the stock isn't really doing anything. It's doing something from a trading perspective, which again, anyone that bought that stock would now be up about 24% with options about 3-4 times that, 78, 75, 100%. Okay, so if you're an options trader, as you are, Pamela, you got to follow the momentum, right? The trend is where you make the real money. We don't have a trend yet. So, and then Benito, let's look at CRWD. That's a chart chaser name, so let's just call it for what it is. So CrowdStrike is in a neutral trend. I'm sure everyone, including your broker, called you when the trend changed, Benito, right? And you know I'm joking, right? But the trend changed. In fact, the trend changed from bullish to neutral early January. So far, the stock is down 20%. The trend is no longer bullish by our work, right? And again, I'm sure your broker called you on that. Again, notice my kidding. In the short term, CRWD is obviously bearish momentum. There's no doubt about it here. And that momentum sell signal, this is also good for you, Pamela, right? So you can see the momentum short signal happen in November, and it remains bearish momentum. Stock so far is down about 28%, right? So if you are in CRWD, and then this is not advice, it's education here, and your money manager didn't tell you to get out of this damn stock, then you probably need a different solution, right? Because it broke its trend. It's not the time to short the stock necessarily from an investment perspective, but it was time to sell it when it went from the green background color to the neutral background color. Does that make sense, Benito, or anyone else that's looking at this? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've covered a whole bunch of stuff. We've covered the trend change here in CRWD. We looked at QNR. We looked at Freeport McMoran. We looked at gold and miners. We looked at the indices, NVIDIA. I think we covered a lot, and we have about 10 minutes for the equity market to open here on this Thursday, and we'll see where it takes us. But thanks all for being here. Thank you everyone for being here, folks. If you haven't joined us yet, make sure you join us on Friday, as tomorrow on the 27th, on that big sector, that big capital rotation we call the Great Rotation. I think it would be well worth the time to join. We have a new format as well. It's a lot of fun with the cameras and everything. So join us for that. I look forward to seeing you guys there tomorrow, and we'll be back here Monday morning with Set the Market. And if you are a member in our chat rooms, we'll see you guys over there and see if we can't do a trade or two on things like NVIDIA. Until then, be well, and we'll see you guys tomorrow in the weekly strategy session. Take care.